If you're in tech, you probably feel like the rules for building software have been set in stone for years, right? But what happens when you throw AI into that mix? Well, it turns out you can't just tweak the old process. You need a completely new playbook. So let's break it down.
So, do you really think all software is built the same way? For the longest time, the answer was basically, yeah. Whether you were building a simple mobile app or a huge enterprise system, the fundamental steps were pretty much the same. But AI? Oh, AI has thrown a massive wrench into all of that, forcing us to rethink everything from the ground up.
You see, the second you bring machine learning into the equation, the traditional rules of software development just don't apply anymore. The entire architecture for how we build, how we test, and how we deploy our code has to evolve. And it all starts with something we call the two-pipeline problem. And that gets us to the absolute heart of the issue, this two-pipeline problem. With any regular software, everything flows through one main pipeline. It's straightforward. But with AI, you are suddenly juggling two completely separate parallel processes. You've got your standard software pipeline, and you've got your machine learning training pipeline. Here it is, side by side. On the left, you've got your classic software world. Everything relies on a single CI/CD pipeline. That's just continuous integration and continuous delivery. Pretty standard stuff. But look at the right. AI software has that, plus a whole other pipeline dedicated just to training the ML models. They have to work together, sure, but they are two totally different beasts. Now, to really get why this second pipeline is such a game changer, let's just do a quick refresher on the standard playbook. How does that single normal software process actually work? It's usually a pretty clean three-step journey. First, you've got unit tests, which check the tiniest little pieces of your code. Then you have integration tests, which make sure all those little pieces can talk to outside systems, like a database. And finally, delivery, which pushes the finished code out into the world for users. It's a nice, predictable, linear path. But now, let's throw AI into the mix. And here comes the twist. In the world of AI, that second pipeline, the ML training pipeline, it isn't just a series of steps to be run. No, it's treated as something really special, an artifact. And realizing this, well, it changes everything. This is the key insight, and it's put perfectly here. The ML training pipeline isn't just a process, it's a product. It's a deliverable thing that the main software pipeline is responsible for building. Think about that for a second. This totally reframes the goal of your entire development process. The main job of your CI/CD pipeline isn't just to deliver the final app anymore. Its new job is to build, test, and deliver the ML pipeline. Here's an analogy. You're building a factory, and that factory's only purpose is to build another factory, the one that actually makes the AI models. Okay, so if we accept this new rule that the ML pipeline is the main product, how does our good old three-step process change? Let's take a look at how that playbook gets a serious rewrite. All right, step 1, unit tests. In the old playbook, you're testing tiny functions in your code, right? Simple stuff. But in the AI playbook, your units are way bigger. You're actually testing entire stages of the ML pipeline. Like, does the data cleaning stage work correctly? Does the feature engineering stage transform the data like it's supposed to? You have to make sure each of those big chunks works perfectly on its own. Now, the difference with integration testing, it's even more dramatic. You're not just checking a connection to a database anymore. Your AI pipeline needs to plug into a whole new universe of specialized tools. You have to test its connection to things like a feature store, which is like a data library for your models, and a model registry, which is like a version control system for all the models you train. It's a much, much more complicated web of connections to manage. And it doesn't stop there. On top of all those external connections, you also have to test the connections inside the ML pipeline itself. Can the data preparation step successfully hand off its data to the model training step? Because if that internal link is broken, the entire thing just grinds to a halt. Finally, we get to delivery. In the old world, you deliver a finished piece of software, and for the most part, you're done. But in the AI playbook, you're delivering the ML pipeline itself. And the goal isn't to be done. The goal is to enable something called continuous training. You're setting up a system that can constantly and automatically retrain and improve your AI model. The delivery is really just the beginning of that model's life. So once that pipeline is delivered, it can be triggered to retrain the model whenever it's needed. Maybe an engineer kicks it off manually. Maybe it runs on a set schedule, like every Sunday night.
Or, and this is the really powerful one, it can be triggered automatically when the system detects that the live model's predictions are getting worse over time. That's called drift, and it's a huge deal in AI.
So we've seen how the process is totally different, but let's just zoom out for a second. Why does adopting this new playbook actually matter so much? What's the big picture here? So why go through all this trouble? Well, because treating the ML pipeline as the final product is the bedrock of modern MLOps. It's what separates a cool one-off science experiment from a reliable industrial-strength AI system you can count on. It gives you a real framework to manage the insane complexity of these projects, and most importantly, it unlocks the power of continuous training, which keeps your models sharp and effective in the real world.
And all of this leads to one final big question. We're seeing AI get baked into more and more software every single day. So as it becomes just a standard part of how we build things, you have to wonder, will this two-pipeline approach eventually just become the only playbook?